All right, we're going to do the hand. And the hand is a little tricky, but it still ultimately follows those same basic principles of the 3 cardinal planes, right? So we're going to start out, we're our naked guy in the book, right? We're in this position. And we already learned the wrist, so what motion of the wrist is this?
Flexion.
Beautiful. And what's extension look like? Perfect. So now we take our hand, and we're still thinking about it in this orientation. What if I do, and this is not necessarily a hand, this is more of a forearm motion, but what motion will we call this? We haven't really went over it yet.
Is it the soup can?
It is the soup can.
Not supine, but prone, am I right?
Right? What are we going to call that, though? It's okay, pronation. This is pronation.
Okay.
This is supination. When I was in PT school, how I memorized that is every time we got on a table and we laid prone, I would tell my friend, I'm like, all right, pronate for me. And she'd lay on her stomach, and I'm like, okay, this is, relative pronation. And you're laying on your back, this is relative supination, right? So pronation, my hand is turning as if I were laying prone, right? Laying prone. And then supinate, my hand is turning like I am this supine naked guy in the book. That makes sense? So if we are pronating or supinating, what plane of motion is that? You got it?
Frontal? No,
It's okay.
It's transverse.
It is transverse.
Transverse.
Perfect.
That light bulb
It's
went off.
rotational. Yes, that light bulb is my thing. So pronation and supination are in the transverse plane. Beautiful. All right, here's another weirdly worded one. We have this motion, so my thumb is going towards the lateral side of my forearm. What are we going to call that? Any idea? It's okay if you don't know. We haven't went over it yet.
That is abduction. Is that right?
That is not a bad guess. So it's actually called radial deviation. I am deviating, my wrist is deviating towards, what bone is that in that forearm? Oh, that's okay. It's your radius. Right? Right. So thumbs up is rad.
And this is the ulna.
And that's the ulna. Thumbs up is rad. Right? So if I am rotating, or I'm deviating rather, I'm the naked guy in the book, and I'm deviating towards my radius, what plane is that in? Yes, nail it. You're getting this, girlfriend. Frontal plane. All right, this is radial deviation. What is this motion called?
It's dealing with the ulna.
It is. So what would we call that?
Deviating the ulna. Is that right?
Or if this is radial deviation, this is ulnar deviation. Ulnar deviation. That's okay. Let's try it again. So what motion is this?
That is radius deviation.
Radial deviation.
Ulna.
Ulnar deviation. Beautiful. And what
Radius.
plane is that in?
This is your frontal.
It is your frontal plane. Perfect. Nailing it. So what motion is this?
That is pronation.
Pronation. What motion is this?
Supination.
Supination. Love it. What plane of motion is that in?
That's your transverse.
It is your transverse. Perfect. All right, now let's get a little bit more into the hands. So that's our forearm motions.
Okay.
And remember, no matter what position my hand is in, I can be in this position. I'm still naming it based off the naked guy in the book. Okay? So if my fingers do this, what motion might we call that? Finger flexion. Perfect. If I'm the naked guy in the book, what plane is finger flexion in? Sagittal, yes, sagittal, right? Because it's going in this direction, right? Sagittal plane. And it doesn't matter, even if I'm holding my hand like this right here, it's still finger flexion in the sagittal plane.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, what would finger extension look like? That's it, the opposite. Perfect. Okay, what will we call, if my hands are out like this, what will we call this motion where my fingers come together? And never be afraid to reference back to a long bone. What would a long bone be doing if it did that? Adduction, adduction. All right, what would abduction look like? That's it. What plane is that in?
This is your Frontal.
It is your frontal plane.
Yay.
Nailed it. High fives. Yes, frontal plane.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have finger flexion and extension, and that's in the
That is in your frontal. No, sag.
sagittal
Sag
plane.
is
Yeah, yep.
This way. That's
And
confusing.
it is confusing,
And this is
right?
your frontal.
But always don't be afraid to mentally think about the naked guy in the book.
You have to think for a minute. 'cause
Well, that's
you're
all you're
doing
gonna be able to
this.
see now. It's like that
Sag.
naked guy in the
This
book.
is frontal. Okay.
Yes, perfect. So here's another funky hand motion. What might we call this motion right here, where I bring my thumb and my pinky together? Have you learned that one yet?
Whatever.
Okay, that's okay. So this is called opposition. I have no idea why they call it that. There's a reason
You can
somewhere.
make an O with your finger.
You can make an O with your finger. I'm sure that's how they do that.
Opposition.
I love it.
Right, yeah.
No, that's a great way to remember it, though. I didn't think about that. So you're making an O with your fingers. Opposition. Perfect.
Opposition in your sag. That would be sag.
Ooh, that's a good question. I like the way you're thinking. So if I'm moving,
Like this.
right, if I'm the naked guy in the book and I'm doing that motion,
That would be sag, right? Because it's coming forward,
well,
but
let's make our thumbs be really big. So what if our thumbs are kind of doing this?
frontal.
Well, so that's this. You're getting into some weeds here. So that's where it gets a little tricky, right?
Yes.
So actually, that is going to be in the transverse plane, because you think about that slice through the body, right? That transverse plane cuts you right in half, and that its motion it's working within that block. So this is transverse. That's transverse. Those are weeds. I know,
Was the baby as a Lord?
but that's not a bad guess, right? So
Yes.
this is actually transverse plane.
Transverse opposition.
Opposition. Yep.
Okay.
That's it. So that's your hand motions.
That's it.
Yeah. Good job.